We are all multidimensional beings, and we have so many different sides to who we truly are. Some of them are pure and light and all sparkly and beautiful, and others, well, they're a bit more shadowy, but that's the beauty of it. That is the whole spectrum of who we are as people. We have both the light and the shadow.
Welcome to Just Being Me. This is your sanctuary for all things real, magical, and unapologetically you. Here, we weave together the threads of balanced living, self love, and creative expression. Because stepping into who you're meant to be is equal parts exhilarating and messy, and it's all part of the plot. I am your host, Emma Garter, and I'm a self expression coach and creatrix. Each week, we'll dive into heart centered conversations, playful explorations, and a little bit of everyday enchantment. Whether you're figuring out life's big questions, manifesting your dream reality, or simply learning to know, trust, and love yourself, this is your space to create a life that feels so desirable that you would never want to escape it. So, let's skip the small talk and dive into the deep end. Your story starts here, and the pen is in your hand. Now let's get into the episode.
Welcome to Just Being Me. And in this episode, we are going to talk about the 13 lifestyle archetypes that I have put together based on Carl Jung's teachings and talk about their light shadow, no, their light aspects and their shadow aspects, and how you can decipher if you are in the light or in the shadow, or maybe not even embodying the archetype at all. My name is Emma. Hello. Welcome to the podcast. If you're new, it's so good to have you, and welcome to this little magical universe. And if you are a recurring listener, I see you. I see you. And I'm so grateful. And I love you so much for being back and continuously watching these episodes. It means the absolute world to me. Okay. So, like I said, we're going to talk about these 13 lifestyle archetypes. And a lot of the times we only focus on the light, the beautiful things, and the shadow is what is in the unconscious. The things that we don't look at, the things from our childhood that is still with us today, that is holding us back from actually living the life that we want to live of love. And instead, we are stuck in the fear. So, these 13 lifestyle archetypes I have put together, I've made a list of what I see are like personality aspects in each of us as women. And I'm just so excited for this to be out in the world again. I did it. I've made a few archetypes before and it just didn't feel right. But these ones, and it's 13, like the goddess. And we love that so much. So I want you to ask yourself when you're listening to this, which of the archetypes do you feel most connected to you right now? And what of these archetypes, like, are you in the light or are you in the shadow? Do you recognize yourself in the shadow? Are you like, okay, I have some of these aspects of myself and I don't really think that I've ever looked at them. Or maybe you have and you're working on them, which is great and I applaud you so much. If you're not, just hold yourself with compassion and just take this as a sign that, okay, maybe there's something here that I should work on. And I want to know, like, what do you think about the archetypes? And like I said, with which one do you resonate with the most? I've also made a free quiz for you to to take and to figure out what your dominant archetype is, because we can be all of the archetypes. There might be some that we don't embody and maybe don't want to embody, and that's okay. Like, this is just a tool. It's not a set in stone, like, this is how you need to live your life, and if you don't embody all the aspects in the light of this, you're bad. Nope. This is just a tool that you can use to get to know yourself better, to just gain more self awareness. And like I said, I have made a free quiz that you can take. And I want to know, like, does it resonate with you? Does it make sense, the dominant archetype that you got in the quiz? And if you're interested in taking the quiz, you will find it in the show notes, or link down below. So, yeah, like I said, I want to just preference, like, there's no right or wrong way to live your life. You get to decide, and you are the person that knows yourself best. And you don't have to embody, like I said, all these lifestyle archetypes, because some people just might not have that one aspect of themselves. Like, I have one that's called The Seeker, which is all about traveling and exploring, and maybe some of you just, like, aren't really interested in that, and that's okay. Maybe you just want to have your own little farm, and just, like, be in that little, like, safe cave and have a family and nurture that. Like, you're more of a mother archetype, and that's okay. That is perfectly fine. It is just for you to know who you are. So I have written down on my computer down below. I'm also a little bit nasally and sick today. But I wanted to bang out these podcast episodes that I'm filming today, because I want to be on top of this shit to this year. I want to post one each week, which I'm doing already, which is great. Anywho, let's get on to the archetypes. And also, I want to, uh, I keep blabbering, but I want to invite you to a masterclass at the end of this, in order for you to embody even more of the archetypes. So stay tuned to the end of this episode if you want to know more information about that. Okay. And this is in no particular order whatsoever. I've just written them down and they're just gonna flow. Okay, the first one is the maiden. And the essence and the light of the maiden is purity, innocence. It's like a little child almost. It can be connected to the inner child. And it has so much excitement for the world. They see things like, wow, like all the magic around them. And there's so much joy filled within the maiden. It's also about new beginnings. It's kind of like that little child when it gets born, and then it grows, and then it becomes the mother, and then it becomes the crown. It's that process. It's all about new beginnings. It also encompasses and embodies hope for the world, hope for people, and there's a like an openness to life. It's a very like welcoming, like, oh, everything is love. I am I'm embracing everything kind of energy. And the shadow of the maiden is naivety. Naivety. How do you say that word? Naivety? Naivety. Is naivety. So being very naive and not really like, you're not able to see the bad. There's a lack of boundaries, not being able to stand up for yourself. You get easily manipulated if you're in the shadow. People take advantage of you. There's an emotional immaturity. So you're not able to hold space for your own emotions, and your emotions, you're very reactive. You can also like imagine just like a little child being very stubborn and like, yeah, no, I don't want to do that. Ah! Like that kind of energy. There's an inability to handle challenges. Things that come our way can be very like abruptive to you, and it can be very like, oh my god, like you get so freaked out and your nervous system just cannot hold challenges that come into your life. And it's also passivity. So just sitting there thinking, being like dilly dally, and be like, oh, everything's just gonna come to me, and you're not actually doing anything. You're not actually creating. You're just like being in joy and bliss and love and yeah, that kind of vibe. I think I just pulled a muscle. Lol. Okay, so that's the maiden. This is definitely one of the archetypes that I have been in most of my life. That like naive little child who thinks everything is perfect and everyone has good intentions, um and also like stepping or letting people step on my toes, and letting people push me over because I've just been so, oh no, but I want to take care of everyone. It's also people pleasing. So yeah, that's the maiden. Did anything here like click for you where you're like, oh shit, that's true, I'm in the shadow of the maiden? Or are you just in the light? Which is a beautiful thing. Like I said, we have the shadow aspect, which is not negative. It's not a bad thing. It's literally just the opposite of the light, and we are both. And we embody qualities of both, and we probably will our whole life. But it's that like being aware of the shadow and looking at the shadow and accepting it and being like embracing and being like, okay, look, I have been naive. I have let people step over me, and it's my choice now to take back that power and maybe embody more of some of the other archetypes in order to stand taller in your own truth, but not losing the essence, the light of the maiden, for example, which is that joyful, like excitement over life, because that is such a beautiful thing. The next archetype that I want to talk about is the lover. So, the essence and light of the lover is sensuality, being in our bodies, relationships, being so connected to another human being, beauty, using your senses, like being so in your body, adornment, dressing yourself, like getting all decked out, wearing the things that make you feel sexy, that make you feel good in your own body. It's about connection, being connected to nature and other people around you and your partner and animals. It's about passion. It's that like fire that's within us. Um and it's all about intimacy, being close to someone, being able to open up your heart. And then we have the shadow, which is codependency, being codependent with another person, not being able to do anything without them, being so focused on, like, if your partner, for example, is in a bad mood, your whole day gets ruined because your partner is in a bad mood. And it's not, maybe not even about you, but you are so codependent on him or her or they or them feeling good, that if they're not good, that also falls onto you. It's about emotional dependency, like I just talked about. It's about seeking validation from others, not feeling good enough within yourself, and needing validation from other people in order to feel like you are worthy or good enough. It's about superficiality, so everything's superficial. This is also very interesting because sometimes, for example, in the fashion industry, yes, it's about adornment, it's about beauty, it's about all that, but it's also very superficial. So that's like the shadow aspect of the fashion industry, is that it is very in the lover archetype, but it's also like so toxic, you know? It's obsession with external beauty. So it's about that like obsessive, like I need to have my makeup done, I need to have my hair all like fresh and curled, and my outfit needs to be on fleek and it needs to be perfect, otherwise I don't feel good, I don't feel like people will love me, you know? It's that like that superficial mask that we wear. And it's about wearing the filters on Instagram, all of these things. And the last thing with the shadow is possessiveness. So being so overly possessive over your partner that like they can't, you accuse them of being or cheating, or you're afraid that they're always gonna like move on to the next woman or man or whatever, because you're too much for them, or or yeah, you just have a feeling, that's in quotation marks, that they're gonna cheat. So that's why you have to like hold on to them so fucking tight. But then again, if you do, you're gonna lose them because you're suffocating them. So that's the lover. How did that land for you? I want to know. I think I've been in the shadow most of these, to be honest. I do very much with a superficiality. Um, for example, even codependency. Oh yeah, yeah, and I'm working on them. Yeah, but I'm definitely more getting more into the light. The next one is the warrior. So, like you can tell, this is a very masculine energy, and we have that within ourselves too. We're not just feminine beings. Even though I know a lot of people probably would love to be more or live only in the feminine, but that doesn't work. We're yin and yang. It's the whole trinity. Like with no, not whole trinity. It's the whole spectrum. Same with light and shadow. There's duality. We have to have more masculine traits and then more feminine traits. Yeah, and also the maiden is more of a feminine energy, the lover as well. The warrior is the more of a not negative, more of a masculine energy. So, the essence of the warrior. It's all about hard work, resilience, like very like a go 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 mode and energy. It's about determination, being so determined with your goals, goal setting, really being like a driven person. It's about forging a new path, going your own way. The warrior is like, if you think of a warrior um in war, like they're like nothing stopping them, they have a mission that they're on and they're going for it. It's about courage, being so brave, even though sometimes it's fucking scary, but just being like, I need to go. Like, this is my path. And I can't just stop and go back to what I used to be. I need to fulfill my mission and move towards it, even though all these emotions come up. It's about strength and it's about discipline. So being disciplined in what you do, really like you have your goals and then you're going for it. You're not stepping down. You're not being like, nah, I'll just watch TV the whole day because, it can wait till tomorrow. It's like, no, we are fucking going. And the shadow to this can be aggression. There's a lot of fire. There's a lot of energy that can lead to aggression. It can be impulsiveness, being very impulsive, like having an idea and just being like, okay, Eileen, we need to do this right now. It can be about overwork, overworking yourself because you are so driven, because you have all this passion. And I think a lot of women are in the shadow of the warrior. And I know that I have been as well. And you will end up burnt out if you are constantly doing, if you're constantly moving and working hard and not taking breaks, because that's the warrior. It just pushes through no matter what happens. It's also about rigid thinking. It's about being so stuck in like, this is where I'm headed, and I need to move towards this thing. So it's harder for people to influence you, which is kind of a good thing, but also not a good thing. It's both in the light and the shadow. There's a lack of empathy. You don't really think about other people's emotions and feelings when you do things. It's battle focused without balance, like I said. It's just a go, go, go. You're battling, you're doing it, and you're not finding the balance to rest, to rejuvenate, to integrate, to really reflect on what you've done and how it's working and all these things. It's just like the focus on the goal and then the moving forward. And then there's also a fear of vulnerability, because the warrior is strong. The warrior has a heart of a steel. Like, it got this armor on, and it's afraid to let people in. Even though they have a lot of courage, they're afraid to be vulnerable because that's a quote unquote sign of weakness. So how does this land for you? Do you feel like you're in your warrior in the light, or are you in the shadow? Are you overdoing? Are you overworking? Are you pushing so fucking hard that you're pushing yourself to the breaking point? The next one is the mother. The mother archetype. Hey, all the nurturing girlies who are out there wanting to help everyone. And yeah, I just feel like a lot of the empaths are embodying the mother archetype. And so this is the essence and the light of the mother archetype: nurturing. If you think of a mother, like, what qualities comes to mind? Nurturing. They literally carry a child, grow the kid inside their belly for 9 months, and nurse them and take care of them. Most mothers, at least. Um and there's just like this mother instinct that they say they have, that like the children are everything for them. It's safe. It's like, if you think about the womb, like inside the womb, it's so safe and warm and snuggly. It's a caretaker, like they take care of people. There's so much unconditional love with a mother, like they love their kid. And I'm saying mothers, this is like a generalization. I know there are mothers out there who are not the best, but this is just like the essence of a mother being the mother. So there's unconditional love for their kid. Their kid could do anything and they will still love them. Empathy, being so kind and understanding, and just having love for people. There's comfort, patience. There's also a sense of guidance. And then the very like protector, like mama bear. I'm protecting my cub from all the predators. And then we have the shadow: overprotectiveness, smothering. Who feels like that has been happened to them in their childhood with their own mother? It happens. Loss of self and caregiving. They take care of everyone else around them. And also, this, I want to say, like, this doesn't have to be that you're a mother. This doesn't have to mean that you have a child and then you're in the mother archetype. You can not have a kid and still be a mother to your partner, to your friends. I have been called the mother of the friend group my whole life, and I didn't have a kid, but it's the essence of it. It's not actually the fact of being a mother. It's overbearing. It's like being so much and making sure that everyone else is so good and so safe around them that it can be like, okay, give me some space. I need to breathe, ma'am. It's about neglecting personal needs. Like I said, putting everyone else in front of their own needs. It's also about stifling independence in others, making people depend on you for everything in order to feel needed, in order to be like, okay, if this person, let's take a, a child, let's take a child, and if you're a mother to this person, um and you're being there, always helping, always protecting, being like, you need to do this, you need to do that, and then you will do that, and then you can do this in order to get to there. This little kid is never going to understand what it's like to be independent and is never going to have their own sense of self because they're always someone else being there, protecting them, showing them what to do. So that was the mother archetype. Let's move on. Oh, do you recognize yourself? I know I do. In my past relationships, I've been the mother and become the mother of the relationship, and it's not fun. It sucks. It really does. I'm working a lot on not letting that happen again, especially being in the shadow. Let's move on to the next one, which is the visionary slash magician. Magic. I love my magic. So the essence and the light of the magician slash the visionary is creativity. This is like the the creator energy, innovation, magic, manifestation. It's all about creating your dream life based on your vision. It's about foresight, being able to predict and envision and see what can actually benefit people around you and yourself. It's about insight, gaining insight from the universe, for example, getting little ideas of what you can do and what you can create. It's all about transformation, transforming something, also like alchemy, transforming the shadow into the light. And it's all about seeing possibilities. The visionary sees a brighter future. The visionary sees where the earth can go and then creates it. Then is in the driver's seat, actually doing her thing, you know? So the shadow of the visionary is illusion. With a magician, there's all these illusion. There can be illusions about what you bring to people. Like a wounded visionary can sell people an illusion. They can manipulate people. They can share with people something that is not actually embodied. It can be very like, "Oh, I have this big vision," but it's not actually the lived truth. There can be some unrealistic dreams, and I don't like to say unrealistic dreams, but there can be like a vision of having, like, I am going to create a flying car. Okay, what experience do I have with flying cars? Nothing. What do experience do I have with cars? Nothing. I don't even have my driver's license yet. Like, that for me is just an unrealistic dream, and I don't really have a reason to dream that, you know? It can also be a detachment from reality. Being so wrapped up in the vision, being so wrapped up in where you want to go. And you can see some correlations between these archetypes because they all kind of weave together. So this also comes in with the warrior, but it's just a different kind of unrealistic dream. Having such a big vision and only being in that vision, not actually being here present today in this very moment, and kind of bypassing the everyday experience because you're so wrapped up in what can happen potentially in the future. But then you're also never gonna actually become that because it's just in the future. It's not actually you living it right now. It's also about escapism, escaping reality, overindulgence in fantasies, being overly idealistic without actions. Like I said, you're so wrapped up in the this can happen that you're not actually making it happen, if that makes sense. So how did that land for you? How does that feel? I know it can be really confronting and triggering to hear all these shadows, but I just want to know, like, there's no right, there's no wrong. You are all welcome here no matter what shadows, what, like, quote unquote negative, and it's not even negative. I don't like to say that. I need something to drink. There's nothing in there. Okay. Next one is the analytic. No, I skipped one. Also, I forgot. The mother is, of course, um, feminine, and the visionary and magician is also feminine because it's creativity, it's about expression, it's about all these things. I skipped one that I've written down here. The hero slash the activist. This is more of a masculine archetype. So the essence and light of the hero slash activist, I'm just gonna say hero, is standing up for causes. So these are the activists that you see in in the streets, fighting for justice, bravery. It's all about like showing up fully. This also kind of coincides with the warrior. There is self-sacrifice, so often you see people like activists tying themselves or chaining themselves to a building because they don't want them to tear it down. Like that's you self-sacrificing yourself for the cause. And then there's advocacy for the oppressed, so being a fighter for what is right. And then we have the shadow of the activist, which is self righteousness, thinking that you are better than others because you are doing your part and standing up for causes that you believe in. And thinking that like if you don't do anything, or if you don't believe that you need to march every Sunday, every Saturday for this cause, and if you don't do that, you're not a good person, you're not worthy of, the life that you live. That's self-righteousness for the activist. There's martyrdom. There's also neglecting personal needs for the greater good. So actually neglecting yourself, for example. And I'm not saying this is wrong or right, this is literally just a shadow. um for example, going to jail because you commit a crime, because you stood up for something you believed in. That is you neglecting your personal needs. Like, you don't really want to go to jail, but you're doing it because you're fighting a part for the greater good. There's also burnout from overextending because you're so like activated in it, and it can be hard to pull away from that. There's also savior complex. You feel like you need to save people, you need to help people, you need to, yeah, save them from the horrible things that they're going through. And there also might be some inability to listen and to collaborate. This can be the same with the warrior. You're so like laser focused on what you want to achieve that you struggle to let other people have a say. So, are you feeling aligned with the activist? I don't feel like this is one of my most prevalent archetypes, and that's okay. That's totally fine. That's the beauty of this. Like, we're so different, and otherwise, the world would have been so boring if we were all the same, right? Imagine that everyone in the world were exactly as you were. You would have gotten very bored very quickly. Okay, now we have the analytic. So, the essence and the light of the analytic is that it's a very rational thinker. It thinks very objectively, sees things very straight. It's very like linear, very logical. It's detail oriented. Uses a lot of problem solving. It's very like this is very masculine, and this is kind of like what we think of as masculine energy. It's strategic planning. It's very like, okay, we're gonna do this, and we have like these points, and having, for example, this for my podcast, having everything lined out, all the light and shadows and all these things. What I'm gonna talk about is very the analytic. And then we have the shadow, which is the overthinking. Yes, I'm looking at you. I'm talking about you. Most of us, well, a lot of us overthink. So we can have that aspect of the analytic because we're always thinking about things while it's trying to like figure things out with our mind, and then we can start overthinking. There's also a coldness, like a detached from emotions, not very connected, not very in our bodies or in our hearts. It's very more like in our mind. Here also the perfectionism comes in. So if you are so meticulous with like everything has to be right, this is coming from the shadow of the analytic. It's a very rigid energy. It's like we can't budge anything, we can't flow through things, we can't do things differently than what is planned because that ruins everything. There's an ability to take risks. It's very like, okay, we have our 5-year plan and we have to go with that 5-year plan, otherwise life will crumble. And then there's also an intellectual elitism. So thinking that you're better than other people because you are quote unquote smarter, that you've thought things through, that you think you're better than people who live in Bali and dances all day long and just bathes in waterfalls because you're actually rationalizing and thinking about things and um yeah, and you think um you're better than others because of that. So I know for me this one is big, very big, and I think a lot of the feminine wounds come from the analytic, or a big part of it at least. So I want to hear, do you feel like you're in the shadow of the analytic? Do you feel a perfectionism? Do you think too much about things and it becomes overthinking? Let me know. I would love to hear, of course. And then we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 left. Okay. This is going to be a long podcast episode for you today, but I hope you're enjoying it so far. I love these, and I think it's so great to just become more aware of yourself. The next one is the jester. And yeah, I know this sounds a little weird, but it is a name. You can also call it the Joker. So, the essence and the lightness of the jester is playfulness. It's humorous. It's fun loving. It's lighthearted, spontaneous, joy, and breaking social norms. It's a very like Joker, like a very like fun, explosive, like ha ha ha. You see like the laughter just like rolling off them. Um, One that I think is very much in the Jester is Florence Givens. She is so just like playful and fun, and the way she dresses, she has pink hair, and yeah, I just feel like she's just like the epitome of the Jester. And then we have Shadows, which is inappropriate humor, saying humorous things at certain times where you probably shouldn't, or using humor to deflect from things, avoidance of serious issues. So not being able to like sit in the hard shit, but like always messing it away, just being like, oh no, blah, you know. Um, Irresponsibility, not taking responsibility over your own life. There's emotional attachment. You're so like love and light and just fun that you're not actually sitting with the heavier emotions. I want to say Florence Givens is the light of the Jester, not the shadow, as from what I've seen at least. There is a fear of commitment. You fear commitment because you just want to keep things light. You just want to keep the joy and the fun and just like, you know? Um, you use humor to mask pain or insecurities. So you use the humor as a mask. Does this resonate with you? Do you feel like you're in the light or the shadow? I definitely feel more in the light for this. And this is also the inner child um, energy again. And this, I would say, is more neutral than feminine or masculine, but it's more on the feminine side. And then we have the wild woman, which is, of course, feminine. Okay, so the essence and light of the wild woman is expressive, connected to nature. Well, okay, let me start with expressive. It's just like fully being you. They are connected to nature. So being so in sync with the cycles and the moon and everything that's happening in the realms, talking to animals, and you see like wild women frolicking in waterfalls in Bali, like that kind of energy. It's raw and real. It's messy. It's unhinged. It's just like everything, all the emotions, all the freedom of expressing yourself and just fully being everything that you are, and authenticity, being 100% you. That's the wild woman. It's fully accepting both light and shadow within yourself. And then the shadow of the wild woman is chaos. It can get very chaotic if you're constantly in the loop of emotions everywhere and you're like in the midst of the transformation. For example, there's a lot of chaos, and this is neither good or bad. Like we sometimes need some chaos to stir things up in order for things to change. There's also a lack of self-control. This can be indulging in like so much candy and ice cream. There's instability, so it's hard to know where the shadow of the wild woman is at, because there can be explosions of emotions, and then there can be like joy and sadness, and be like very up and down. So it can be very dysregulating for the nervous system as well, and they can be very dysregulated, the shadow of the wild woman. There's reckless behaviors, doing things without actually thinking about it or thinking if it's what you really want to do. And this is something that I've been thinking a lot about recently, and like free the nipple and all these things. Yeah, it's like a fuck you to the patriarchy, but it's also like But do I really want to walk around with my nipples out? Depends on the season, depends on where I'm at in life, but it's all of these things. Reckless behaviors without actually thinking about how it will affect others. And this is a fine line because I want you to be yourself. But then again, it's like you don't want to intentionally hurt other people just because you want to be reckless and do you. So there's a line there, and it's very, very thin. There's a difficulty forming to structure. So, like I said, it's very fluid. It's very like up and down and circling around, and it's very turbulent. So I know for me, I took the quiz and I got the wild woman, and I can definitely see myself in both the light and the shadow. And it's just an acceptance of myself, and I love that I'm embodying more of the wild woman because that actually helps me become more of who I am, and that's my whole mission, like helping other women showing up as their true, authentic, fully expressed version of themselves, and seeing all the parts of who they are as beautiful, no matter if they are in the light or the shadow. Yeah, and then we have the next one, which is the wise sage, which is also, yeah, in the middle, I would say, because the light is about knowledge and wisdom, but it's also about intuition and holding space. But I would say maybe more towards the masculine energy. So the light is, like I said, knowledge, wisdom, being a wisdom keeper. The wise sage is like the last part of your life where you have gained so much knowledge, and you're just what everyone comes to be guided, to be mentored, and you have a lot of experience. You have gone through life with trials and errors, and you've really given yourself time to figure out who you are and have gained so much knowledge on the way. There's a patience that comes with it. There's also deep understanding of life and not judging people. You will be able to give a lot of guidance and support. You can also tap into your intuition, and you're so much more connected to who you are in your true essence and your inner wisdom. And there's also mentorship, like I said, holding space for other people to evolve and grow. And then the shadow of the wise sage is arrogance, being very arrogant, because you know so much, because you are so knowledgeable. Detachment from the modern world. You see a lot of old people being like, "What is the phone? Like, I don't understand snap shit," like my grandpa called it. Is it snap shit? No, it's Snapchat. Uh, they're so disconnected from the modern world because they've stopped following what is happening. um Aloofness, it can be very like detached, being like, oh, you see, for example, Alzheimer's, or people forgetting things. That's the shadow. Judgmental. They A lot of the wise sage can be isolating in the shadow. If you think that you're better than people, that you can't be around other people because, you know, you think everything that they do is just wrong and the society sucks and I just don't want to integrate myself into society anymore. And it's also an inability to relate to others' emotions or struggles because you've gone through it. You have Some people have even detached from their emotions and struggles because they've moved through a lot of things already, that it's hard to connect and see why other people are going through it. Yeah, so let me know. Do you feel connected to the wise sage? And then we have the mystic, and the light and essence of the mystic is spirituality. There's an inner peace, connection to the universe, intuitive knowledge. Like this is very much the spiritual body. Like you see the spiritual people who meditate for hours and they're going on their path and all these things. This is the mystic. Embracing the unknown, and also transcending the material world. So not being attached to anything in this reality and not feeling like you have to have a lot of things in order to be happy. And then the shadow and of the mystic is escapism, the escape life. That's what a lot of spiritual people, they transcend, quote unquote transcend, and then they're just not of this earth or on this earth anymore. They're not actually physically in their body. Which is literally why we came onto this earth. We didn't come onto this earth to be a spirit or our soul. We came onto this earth for our soul to experience life through our bodies. So the mystic transcends that. They disconnect from reality and they're not grounded. They're not actually here. And it might be like a cult like thinking that, like, oh, you need to come with me and transcend the universe and rah, rah, rah. And sometimes it can even be avoidance of personal responsibility, like sitting and meditating for 6 hours a day and not actually taking care of their bodies, um not cleaning the house, not doing the things that are human responsibilities. And like I said, a lot of people in the spiritual community is in the shadow of the mystic. And it's about just bringing ourselves down into earth to ground ourselves and to come back to our bodies. And then we have the queen. The queen, light and essence, is it's a powerhouse. You think queen bee, like that energy, it's like I got this shit and I'm ruling my own little world. It's all about leadership, being the person who goes in front to show the way of how you can live differently. It's about business acumen, like having your own businesses, creating things, building empires. It's decisiveness. You know what you want and you're fucking going for it. It's also about grace. It's also about sovereignty of being like, but I don't know everything. I'm just doing me and I'm just going my way, and there's something so beautiful and magical in that I'm showing myself and others grace because we're human, you know? There's also a lot of self-respect. You trust yourself, you believe in yourself, and you respect yourself because you are making the right decisions for you. And if you fuck up, if you mess up, you're like, okay, I got this, because that's human, you know. So you have that respect for yourself. There's also authority. You are an authority, for example, in your business. You're an authority within your stream of work, your line of work. You know, maybe you're an authority when it comes to online marketing or self expression or business coaching. Like you're an authority. People go to you to get guidance. It's also about control, being in control. I got this. If shit hits the fan, we got this. Okay, let's figure this out. Let's be in this sovereign energy of like, no matter what happens, everything will figure itself out and we will figure everything out together. And there's also support. A queen have their posse. They always have people around them to support you in whatever you do. So the shadow of the queen is authoritarianism. So you think you have more authority than other and you look down on others because of that. It's over controlling, being so like forcing something to happen and not letting the universe, for example, take reign and help you and guide you. It's also manipulation, vanity. detachments from others' needs, thinking that you are the one and only, and everything that matters is you. There's a lack of empathy in it. There's an insecurity that's actually within you, but it's masked by the power. You have so much power that you're pushing other people down and to push yourself up. Like that's that energy of like stepping on people's toes in order to get yourself further ahead. So who feels like a true queen? I'm working on it. I know we can all be true queens living in that true queen essence. And we got this. We motherfucking got this. Okay, and the next, oh, the queen, that is actually more in the masculine. It of course has that like feminine energy that I the mystic is also in the feminine energy, very feminine. But the queen is more in the masculine, even though it has that like support system and being held and all that, but it's more of like that I got this. And you see more men, for example, in businesses earning a lot of money, and that's because it's that energy. But the queen is more of like that empowered woman vibes, you know? Okay, okay. Last but not least, we have the seeker, which I talked about early in the podcast episode. So the essence and light of the seeker is it's a free spirit. It loves to travel the world, loves to see new things, go on adventures. There's a lot of exploration energy. There's a lot of like, oh, let me figure that out and let me look at that and let me learn about this new thing and see what I can do with this. There's a lot of curiosity. They try on new hats. They like see if they can do something, incorporate into that thing, and there's an openness to new experiences, an expansion of horizons. There's this like wanderlust energy, like I get to figure out life and see where it takes me. That's where I get from the light of the seeker. And then we have the shadow, which is restlessness. You can't sit still. You can't relax. You always just got to do everything and things out. Figure things out. There's also a fear of commitment. There's a fear of committing yourself to a home base, for example, because you're afraid that you might not have freedom. There's a fear of not having kids or there's a fear of having kids because you're afraid that you will not have the freedom. That's also one of uh, yeah, freedom is also a delight. The light of the seeker. There's inconsistency. You might show up with a lot of energy about one project and then you drop it because it doesn't feel like that exciting anymore. And then you start another thing and then you don't really finish that either. So you're not really consistent with anything. And you never settle or ground yourself. It's like you're always biting the dust. You're always like go, go, go on the move, trying new things. It's also escapism, and this goes hand in hand with the mystic. Escaping, well, not hand in hand, but it's like the shadow of the mystic. It's you escape reality. You go on adventures and you don't really take responsibility of your life because you love just traveling and exploring, and it's not a bad thing, but that's just the shadow of it. There's also lack of direction. So I listened to a podcast and they talked about how a lot of people who move to Bali and that go on this like spiritual journey and don't really have a purpose and don't really have anything that they're working towards, they get lost in that feminine energy. They get lost in that like seeking energy because they're always looking for something outside of them to fulfill them. They're not actually finding that within themselves. So it's about escaping the hard reality of like, yeah, we're human beings and we got shit that we got to work through, but you're just filling your cup with incredible experiences and avoiding actually looking at the things that are hard, you know? And it's also avoiding intimacy, avoiding connection, avoiding attaching yourself to anything because you want to be free, you want to date people, you want to be open to having a flirt here and there, but you're the thought of actually connecting and committing yourself to one person for the rest of your life feels horrifying in the shadow of the seeker. Okay, we have gone through them all. Whoop whoop. Wow, that was a hefty episode. If you're still here with me, thank you so much for listening through all of these. And I want to hear which one you resonate the most with. And if there was any of the archetypes where in the shadow you felt very triggered, or you were like, yep, this is totally me. And I have the shadows of a lot of these. So it's not like you have one archetype in the light and one archetype in the dark, or that you have zero in the light and everyone in the shadow. Like, it just depends on who you are. So definitely let me know on Instagram what your dark and or what your archetypes that you resonate with the most are. You can find me on Instagram at mgarder, EMGAARDER. I've changed my handle name and it feels real good. If you desire to actually learn how to embody these archetypes, how to dress these archetypes, how to embody them through what you wear, I am hosting a free masterclass called Dressing the Archetypes, and we are going to go deeper into how you can embody more of each of these archetypes. I'm also gonna give all the people who show up live a free color your life guide, which is all about how you can use color into your life in order to cultivate different parts of yourselves and strengths. And I'm wearing now today in this episode purple and blue. And if you want to know why I wore these colors, definitely come and join us live on the 20th of February at 7 p.m. Norwegian time, 6 p.m. London time, and then it is 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So join us, and if you want to get the replay, you can if you're inside the Kaleidoscope Collective, which is my creative community, which is now probably becoming a WhatsApp group, because that just feels a lot more aligned. Anywho, I am so grateful that you're here. The links for to sign up to the free masterclass will be down below. And yeah, anything else that you need. It has been a pleasure talking to you about these archetypes, and I just feel like these will help us so much more to embody our fullest authentic expression. And I hope everything for you, and I hope that you are stepping more and more into who you came here to be, and that these helped you become even more aware of who you are and what your potential is. If you liked the episode, I would love it if you give it a review. It helps me so much in order to get this podcast out into more people's hand. If you're watching this on YouTube, yes, the podcast is on YouTube as well. If you prefer watching on there, give it a like. Comment down below which archetype that you resonate with the most. And subscribe, follow the podcast so you don't miss out on any of the future episodes. Okay, now I'm leaving. I'm gonna relax, have an enjoyable evening. sending you so much love, and I will see you next week in the next week's episode. Bye, guys.